Hey guys, Alan here from StretchSense. In this video, we are going to go over the retargeting process for Unity, so follow along and let's get your characters in action.
First things first, make sure that you do have the Unity plugin for Hand Engine installed. If not, we do have a installation tutorial video that you can watch. For this example, I will be using a Mixamo character, but the process is identical for any asset. So in the project hierarchy, just head over to the assets folder and create a new folder to contain the files that will be associated with your retargeting configuration files. Now I will just import my character FBX file here. Next, just right click, create StretchSense Hand Engine Configurator. We recommend that you name this prefab to a unique name of your choosing. For this example, I will just rename it to Mixamo. As you can see in our scene, we already have a hand engine configurator, so we can go ahead and just delete that as well as the hand asset. After that, just drag in the new configurator and our custom character. Here, we will expand the configurator and select the retargeters. Once selected, over here in the inspector pane, you can see that we have a retarget script for both left and right hands. So just a note, for this version of the plugin 3.1, you will need to manually retarget both hands, but in the upcoming versions of the plugin, there will be a mirroring function tool, which means that you will only need to retarget one hand. What we need to do here first is define both hands by finding the appropriate hand joint in the hierarchy. So here, what I'm doing is I am looking for my left hand joint, and once I've found it, I'll just drag it here in this box. Each character is different, but it is common for the name of this joint to include wrist or hand. Now just repeat the same thing for the right hand. Once you've done that, you can see here under the wrist root field that the text will update, and you can use this to check and see if the desired character is being referenced. Now we will click Create List to create the list of target joints. I'll just open up my character folder here, and inside I will create a folder naming it Target Hand. Now inside this folder we will create another folder naming it Left Hand and another one naming it Right Hand, just to keep things organized. Since we are doing the left hand, we'll just open up this folder. Now just rename our file so that we know that it is for the left hand for our character and save. Now just repeat the process for the right hand, and once that's done, we will be ready to start setting up our reference poses. As you can see here in the retargeters pane, there is a list of poses that we want to create. Since our character doesn't need to be in a T-pose, to make things a bit easier, we will just reposition the hands to make things a bit easier for us. So what I'll do is I'll just quickly make some adjustments so that it is easier for us to see what's going on. So here I have set up our workspace to be in a 4-panel view, just so that we have a clear view of all angles, just to help us better visualize our fingers and make it easier for us to make the adjustments we need to. For the reference poses, we recommend creating them in this order: paddle, paddle L splayed, reach, paddle thumb curl splayed, and finally fist. Since my character is already in a paddle L pose, I'll start with that. And as you can see here, I'm just going to make a small adjustment just to get something that I'm happy with. Once I've done that, I'll just copy the rotational values of my left thumb joint and paste it onto the adjacent right hand thumb joint. And just flip the Y and Z values to get your hands facing the right way, or depending on your character's rig, this could be X and Z. Alright, once I have something I'm happy with, I'll just go back to the retargeters pane, and here I will create this paddle L pose. And in this window, I'll just go into my target hand folder, left hand, and I will create a new folder for all my reference poses. And in here, I'll just rename the file to whatever pose that it is making, and making sure to include the side of the hand, so in this case left. Now just repeat the same thing for the right hand. So just a note, there is no one way of doing this in terms of creating the poses. It is just whatever looks the most natural for your character. This means that you may not necessarily have to make the same adjustments as I am making in this video. The next pose we will make here is the pedal pose. So for this, we want the thumb tip straight and parallel to the fingers, the thumb base joint curled so that the thumb is aligned with the side of the palm, and the fingers are straight and parallel to each other. Once I have something I'm happy with, I'll just copy the rotational values for each joints that I've made adjustments to, and I'll just paste it onto the adjacent right hand, just making sure that I flip the Y and Z values to make sure that they are facing the correct way. Once I've done that, I'll just go back to my retargeters pane and create the pedal pose for both hands. So same process, we'll just go into the reference pose folder for each hand and just name the file accordingly. Alright, now we have pedal and pedal L all set up. Next, we want to do a pedal L splayed pose. So if you look over here, you can see that there is a preview button next to each pose. If we click on this one by the pedal L pose, the hands will go into that position, which means that instead of manually moving the thumbs back down, we can just use this as a shortcut to help us create the next poses if we need to. For the pedal L splayed pose, what we want to do is just open the thumbs out as much as possible, with the base joint rotated forward out of the plane of the palm. Once you have something you're happy with, just copy the rotation values and paste it onto the opposite hand. Now we can go ahead and create the reference pose for pedal L splayed for both hands. Next is the reach pose, which has all the fingers splayed apart. So what I will do here is we will go back to the pedal L pose by clicking on the preview button for both hands, and I will just make the adjustments from here. So for this pose, what we want is to have the thumbs straight, opened out as far as possible, and approximately parallel with the plane of the fingers, and having the fingers straight with maximal splay. Again, once you have something you're happy with, just copy the rotation values for each joint and just paste it on the opposite hand, making sure to flip the Y and Z values. Once that is all done, we can go ahead and create this reference pose. Next, we have the pedal thumb curl pose. For this, we can start from either pedal or pedal L pose. So just hit the preview for either pedal or pedal L and we can start from here. What we want to do with this pose is we want all the thumb joints to be maximally curled and to have the thumb on the surface of the palm. Also, we will just be keeping the fingers straight and parallel to each other. Just make the adjustments you need to for your character to make it look natural, and just be sure to check for any clipping. Once you have something you're happy with, just again copy the rotation values for each joint and paste it onto the opposite hand, making sure to flip the Y and Z values. Once you've done that, we can just go ahead and create the reference for this pose for both hands and just save it. Next pose we have pedal thumb curl splayed. This one should be fairly easy to do since we already have the pedal thumb curl pose. So what we need to do here is to just rotate the base of the thumb out away from the palm as much as possible while looking natural, and just copy the values and paste it over to the opposite hand. Once that is done, we can go ahead and create the reference for this pose as well. And for the final pose, we have the fist pose. For this one, we will just reset our hands to the paddle pose. We want to make sure that the thumb base joints are curled so that the thumb aligns with the side of the palm, and make sure that all the finger joints are maximally curled as natural as possible. Here you may need to do some tweaking depending on your character, but as long as there is no clipping and your hands look something like this, you should be fine. Once done, just create the reference pose for both hands. If at any time you are not happy with the reference poses that you have created, you can always update the poses with the update button here. Once all your reference poses have been created, we will need to create some hand asset maps. To do this, click on this create map here, and we'll go into our folder here for the left hand, and I'll just rename this to Mixamo left hand asset map, but you can name this to whatever you like. Now we will see that all these finger joints will appear, and what we will need to do is assign each one to the appropriate one from our character. As you can see here, there are two thumb CMCs. We can just assign thumb 1 to both of these. Now just repeat the process for your right hand, and with that all done, your one-time setup for your character's hand is now complete. Just make sure that hand engine is running and that your gloves are connected and calibrated. And if we hit play in Unity, you can see that the hands are now working in Unity alongside with hand engine.
So that covers the retargeting process for Unity. If you have any questions or you need a hand, feel free to reach out to our support team, or you can reach us directly through our Discord channel. Thanks for watching.